Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are diving into another essential design pattern, the prototype design pattern. This is one of the powerful tools when we need to create new objects by copying existing ones without worrying about the cost of creating those objects from scratch. If I'm going too fast or too slow, you can click the gear icon in the player and select the speed that works best for you. So prototype design pattern is one of the creational design patterns. So it provides a mechanism of object creation. The prototype design pattern is useful when object creation is expensive and requires significant time or resources. So take an example of an object which is created by fetching the details from remote database server, and it takes around 5 seconds to fetch the details. And later on, we need the same object at multiple places in the same application, and rather than fetching that object from database server again, so what we can do, we can just use the prototype design pattern and we can create the duplicate copy of existing one, and later on we can modify as per our requirement. This pattern uses Java's cloning feature to perform the copy operation. So let's dive into the code and see the things in action. So let's create one class called student, and here we have property private int roll number, private string name. So we have constructor to initialize the values, and let's create getter methods for both these properties. So we have student class now. Let me create another class. Let's call it students. So now this class contains a list of student. So list student students list. Let's import the package. Import java.util.star. To initialize this list, we have constructor public students, and let me create one parameterized constructor public students. So we are passing a list of student, and using this list we are initializing this. Let me create another function to fill the values in this list. So public void load students, and here, so for example, we have some logic here. So for example, logic to fetch students data from remote server. So it can be API call, or it can be access from database, and store in list. And for the time being, what I am doing, so I am filling this list, students list dot add new student, and let's have a getter method. So getter get student list, and it will be returning this list, right? Now for this class, so if we have the object of this class, and you can see here we have a list of students, which is a time consuming process to load this list, right? So for example, here we have written some logic to fetch the students data from the database server, right? And later on at any stage, so we need the same list at some other place or at somewhere else in this other class. So what we can do, so we can use the prototype design pattern to create new object from this existing object of students class, right? For that, what we need to do, first we will be making this class clonable. So implements clonable, and along with that we will be overriding the clone method. So public students clone. So here let me create the fresh list of student type. So let's call it cloned list equals to new array list, right? And what we will be doing, so we will be traversing our student list and we will be filling data into this cloned list. So for student, so we have written this advanced for loop. So from student list, so we will be fetching student one by one and we will be adding those objects into our cloned list. And finally in this function we will be returning object of students class, fresh object, and we will be passing the cloned list, so which is completely a new list. So we have just initialized this list here, right? And we have used this parameterized constructor and this list is passed, which is cloned list as of now. And then by using this constructor we will be initializing the list of students in this new students object, right? Let's jump to our main class. So Java main class public static void main. Okay, so in this main class let's create object of students class. Students, let's call it original list, right? And let's load the students into this list. So original list dot load students, and finally let me print the list of students. So original list dot get students list. So we are calling this function here and we have this get students list which will be returning the list of students. And let's quickly run this program once. So this list is returning 3 objects of student type, right? And to see the better output, or to see the formatted output, let me do one thing. In student class we can override toString method. So toString for both these properties. And now come back to our main class. Let me run this again. So you can see, so we have first student object, second object, and third object, right? Now at this point, so I need to create another students object. So for similar to this object, I want to create a new object, right? So what we can do, students, for example, let's call it cloned list equals to, what we can do, we can just perform the cloning. So original list dot clone. Okay, so you can see while we created the original students object, that time we called load students function which fetched the data from server and filled this list, right? But in our case here, what we are doing, so we just cloned the existing object and there is no database call, no remote call, but from the existing object, so we have just created the students cloned list. And here if I want to print cloned list, so let's see the output here. I can do one thing here, cloned list. Okay, and before this function or here we can print original list. Okay, so let me run this. So you can see we have original list, and we have cloned list. Now we have cloned two objects, so I just want to make sure both these objects are not same, or both these references, original list and cloned list, are not pointing to the same object. So let me print objects are same, and here what I can do, original list equals to cloned list. So if both these references are pointing to same object, this expression will be returning true, otherwise it will be returning false. So let's run this, and objects are same, that is false. So both of our objects are different. Now we can test it by other way also. What I can do, for example, in cloned list, so I am adding another student. So cloned list dot add, sorry, cloned list dot get students list dot add. So I am adding new student, roll number 4, and let's name it Sam, right? And after doing this operation, I am printing cloned list after modifications, and here let me print this cloned list dot get list. Okay, and original list we can print here just to see the difference, and original list dot get students, right? So we have added one new element in cloned list, and now we will be printing both the lists. Let me run this, and here at the bottom, so cloned list after modification, so here, yeah, so cloned list after modifications, so we have this list, and in this list we have new student added, roll number 4, name Sam, but the original list is same as its original state. Once we created the cloned list, so after that we can do the modification on that list. Okay, so in students class, in our clone method, so we have cloned the list only, right? But if you want, like, newly created list should have separate student objects as well, these student objects, as of now these are not the cloned one, so we are using the same student objects inside both original and cloned list, right? But if you want to make these student objects also the new objects, so in that case, in student class you will have to clone the student objects as well, and in our list class, so basically students class, right? Here in clone method, along with the creation of the list, right? So we will have to create the new student object as well inside this loop, and then we will be adding those in cloned list. So that this is what we need to make sure as per our requirement. So this was the prototype design pattern, and one change we can made here is, like in our previous videos we have learned Java records. So in place of this student class, so there is a lot of boilerplate code, but the shorter version of the immutable class we can say, so we can use record in place of this student class. So what the change we can make here is, so first thing, so this is a record, right? And we will be deleting all this code, and here we need to pass the properties int roll number and string name, and here curly braces, that's it. So this is similar to our student class, so we have just created the student record, and which will be making no change in the rest of the code. So it will be working exactly the same way it was working with student class. So next time you need to duplicate objects in your Java applications, remember that the prototype pattern can save you a lot of time and effort. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Hit the bell icon to stay updated with our latest coding tutorials and see you in the next video. Thank you.